Hi everyone, I am Adam from Trade with Precision and welcome to this week's IC Markets market commentary. Let's start off with the VIX. So we can see the VIX testing the upper level of resistance, but overall still staying relatively calm. If we have a look at it from a sort of higher time frame perspective, we're still operating near the lows. So although it is generally trending higher, it is not too much on edge at this time. If we then move across and have a look at the US dollar index, showing this again from a monthly perspective, we are still stuck within a range and it is testing that $100 mark. There was a nice rejection of it that last week Friday, but what we're looking to see is ultimately this week a break of the low to see if we're going to work our way down. So this is important because if we break down and we start to head back into the range, we will see the US dollar continue to weaken potentially for several weeks. Right, this will then impact if we have a look at euro dollar. This is why it plays in because, for example, euro dollars come back in here to a level of potential resistance. And so this week we're sitting here, or at least for the first couple of days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, wondering whether euro dollar is going to continue down. It may, in fact, Monday break the low here and then potentially reverse. So if that dollar does end up weakening, we're going to see euro dollar here ultimately break this downtrend and start heading higher. That is the danger of this particular moment that we're in. Dollar yen, on the other hand, as well, generally is looking stronger and more bullish. And my expectation for now is that it will ultimately continue to move higher. We have got a potential bullish setup over here. Price will pull back into a level of resistance. And again, interesting to see what could happen if that dollar ends up weakening, but dollar yen here looking nice and bullish. Have a look at gold. So gold, very interesting from a weekly perspective. It's pulled back into the moving averages. It's produced a nice small bullish indecision candle. If we break the high of this, generally speaking, this would be a very bullish setup potentially. So I'm looking to see the break of this week's high or last week's high this coming week. When we look at it from a daily perspective, we've got a possible but very subtle ascending triangle forming here, and again a break above these highs could see that move higher. If we have a look at silver, this one has actually been bullish since the week before last, and again we've got a little bit of an indecision slightly bullish candle this last week. So again, I'm looking to see a break above the highs first before we break the lows. My expectation is that we will then see the markets push higher. So last week, or recently, I spoke about crude oil being in a longer term downtrend. Here we have lower highs, lower lows on the monthly time frame. When you go to the weekly, we've had a very nice weekly retest of that level of support for resistance, and we've broken the low. When you get down to the daily, we had a potential change of trend. We were looking to see if this higher low would break higher. It didn't. In fact, it formed a lower high and broke down. So this downtrend is still intact. And so for me at this point in time, my expectation is that crude oil should continue to head back down towards that 56, 55 level. Let's have a look at the S&P. So very strong bullish finish on Friday. Admittedly, it's a bit of a deeper correction than we've had, so it wasn't really finding any support at that level. Overall, the weekly chart doesn't look super bullish, but we have let off some of that buying pressure. So this week, the question is really going to be, will we break higher, resume that weekly uptrend and the daily uptrend, or ultimately move lower? All right, there has been some bearish divergence building up over time, and so we could have a failure and continue to head lower. So this week could turn out to be very significant, but so far this uptrend is still intact, and so this week we could see a bullish move higher again. Very interesting to see where that dollar is and which way it could ultimately go. If it goes back into the range, it's not necessarily strictly tied together, but it is interesting that they overlap at this point. So this week could be quite eventful from that perspective. Having a look at US tech as well, a little bit of a bullish candle. Again, it's quite a deep retracement. It's testing that 50 period. And so, yes, how this could play out over the coming 10 days, for example, not necessarily this week, is that the market does indeed take a move higher, but then fails and then has a deeper correction. So again, just exercising some caution with that. But so far, that uptrend is still intact. The FTSE as well here. Looking quite nice and bullish there on the weekly. Here we've got two higher bullish candles here on the daily and a level of resistance. So the markets here are still predominantly bullish, but possibly meeting more headwinds up ahead, and so therefore they might start to struggle. If we have a look here at the HK, for example, nice little bullish candle off that level of support. So again, I want to see a break higher to see that bullishness follow through. Alternatively, should we break the low, then obviously we're going to lean towards a deeper correction. But currently, I have to say the markets are looking, let's say 45, 55, or I beg your pardon, 55% bullish, 45% bearish. All right, being prepared for that deeper correction is a possibility, but the markets are not really showing any massive bearishness at this point. Tesla, struggling with that level of resistance. We're seeing price action come back into the moving averages, but now that it's reaching the moving averages, a bullish candle here could signal another move up to the high, and ultimately it could break through. We'll see how that plays out. It's effectively consolidate. What is wrong with me? It's effectively consolidating at this time. Let's have a look at NVIDIA as well. Big, strong, very big, strong bearish candle coming back to test this level again. So we did break through, retested and take a move up, and now we're coming back down. When we have a look at it, that's a weekly one. When we have a look at it from a monthly perspective, we're possibly getting ready here for a bit of a deeper pullback on that monthly time frame. So interesting, there are some signs of hesitation in the markets that are otherwise bullish. So again, I would urge you to exercise some caution around trades, but as I said, they are still in bull mode, and therefore I lean towards a bullish outcome towards the end of the week, but showing you that there are some just subtle hesitations in the market. Let's have a look at Bitcoin as well. So Bitcoin this last week closing down lower, but from a monthly perspective, it's a very nice correction into the moving averages. And a bullish candle this week or this coming month could signal a nice correction and a move back up to old highs. So this week, I think what I'll be watching for here is, will it hold at the levels where it is or continue to close below that 50-period moving average, which then starts to signal a much more medium or longer term bearish tone. Again, we've got some sort of continued divergence here between the MACD. So interesting. The markets for the last few weeks have been generally more clear than unclear. Now we're starting to see a little bit of noise entering the markets. And as I said, the existing structures are still in place, but there's just some signs of hesitation in the markets. So again, exercise some caution here, ladies and gents. Keep an eye on that dollar. We could now see it start to come back in the range and weaken for the foreseeable future. And we could possibly see a little bit of correction in the indices. It's possible. Otherwise, they're going to move higher, and we'll see how well they hold that. And finally, gold and silver, I'm looking to see those break higher. Thank you very much. Have a great week.